Сука! Бля! Пиздец! Ди нахуй! You haven't played Dota 2 till you've played with the Russians.
Сука! Блять, пердак порвало нахуй!
With almost 2100 hours spent in Dota 2, I can unequivocally say that I am not even close to being anywhere above almost decent. Sometimes. But that aside, I just can't stop playing it. Okay, so for those of you who weren't anointed in the sacred oils of Dota 2, let's recap really fast how this title came to be, so afterwards we can go into why this game is the bane of my existence. The year was 2003 and Warcraft 3 was one of the hottest PC games out there. Now, this guy right here that goes by the name of Kyle Summer, or Yule as millions of people call him, was a modder. He started tinkering with the game and came up with the original version of the mod. He named it Defense of the Ancients, or Dota for short. It was inspired by another mod from StarCraft called Aeon of Strife, if anyone cares enough about historical accuracy. After that, it was handled by some other dudes while also inspiring other people to copy-paste the newly evolved video game genre called MOBA, that stands for Multiplayer Online Battle Arena, and fast forward to 2013, Dota 2 came out. Now, my relationship with Dota 2 is much like my relationship with my first girlfriend. Toxic but hot and steamy. And much like Smeagol and the One Ring, I love and hate Dota 2 at the same time. My story with Dota is a complicated one. I never played the first Dota. It's kind of like Christopher Walken and the internet.
Are you like a technophile? Are you online? Are you?
No, I missed all that.
Well, it's still here. No, I mean, you can jump on it now.
Then a couple of friends of mine from high school were playing Dota 2 and they were like,
Just try. Come on, come on.
and so I did. But it didn't stick with me, I don't know. At first glance, it seemed very complicated to me, and that hasn't changed much because even in 2020, Dota 2 can still be a lot to take in all at once.
That's what she said?
You have a gazillion heroes, all with different playstyles like the tanks, the squishy damage dealers, the supports, the in-betweeners, and so on. Then you have to know the roles assigned to each hero category and the corresponding lane where that character should be, how to delay the creeps, how to last hit, how to deny the creeps, how to harass, how to stack creeps, how to jungle, how long to jungle for, when to switch lanes, when to push, when to retreat, what items to buy, when to buy them. There is so much complexity to Dota 2, no wonder someone took the concept and dumbed it down for everyone to understand. So yeah, at first I kinda hated Dota 2 and I was like,
This stinks! I hate it this way!
at the time I was done with the game. But after a while, my friends were again like,
Try it once, huh? Let that old feeling come back.
especially a good friend of mine bugged me until I finally caved and he was all,
Am I right or am I right or am I right? Right.
and I couldn't tell you why, but that second time I tried it, it did stick with me. I started to understand the inner mechanisms of the game, just like,
You get used to it. I don't even see the code. All I see is blonde, brunette, redhead.
in other words, I was hooked, pun intended. Thus started my 2,000 hour still going strong journey into the phenomenal epic fantasy escapism that I can only find in Dota 2. And maybe in the third Lord of the Rings game that seriously needs a remake. Bluepoint, get on it!
Get on it!
Throughout the years, Dota 2 went through many changes that I hated, loved, hated again, loved again. You get the picture. But what remained constant for me was the amazing gameplay that, in my opinion, no other MOBA can replicate. Now, I don't want to get into an entire debate about Dota versus LoL or whatever. My philosophy is simple: live and let live. Meaning that if you like LoL and couldn't care less about Dota 2, I'm glad that you enjoy League of Legends that much. people just need to stop judging other people for what they enjoy and start realizing that what they like as a person doesn't apply to everyone. Especially because we're talking about brain chemistry and dopamine, that's too much to go into. So, anyway. Now where was I? Oh yeah, I was yapping on about the addictiveness of the gameplay. But before I go all sunshine and rainbows on Dota, I'd very much like to crap on it first. Cause no other game in existence can make me so angry as this game can.
This is anger.
Russians! Ah, shit! Shit! Fucking such a ugly...
Reason number 1. You might have guessed it.
Сука, 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 блядь, сука, 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 блядь, сука, сука, suka, блядь.
Now, before we get cancelled for seemingly harboring hate towards the inventors of vodka, xenophobia is not the case here, folks. It's just that in Dota 2, Russians do not know how to play this game and they ruin your entire experience.
Sorry, I fuck your fucking, блядь, дети мам, блядь, иначко.
You fucked my dick? I really hope you didn't, well. That wouldn't really be lovely for me.
Sometimes it's so bad that one Russian on your team is enough for you to lose a match.
Я фит. Me don't fit.
Yeah, sadly, Dota 2 is so moronically constructed that there are no safety measures in place in case one player decides to screw up an entire game. Okay, there is one contingency plan, and that's when a player abandons in the first 5 minutes or something like it, then you can safely quit the game. But that's few and far between. Anyway, nowadays, things are a bit better in that department because it used to be that the game had one courier per team. A courier is a small pet that the entire team was using to move items from the shop at the base to their location on the map. And anyone from your team could have controlled the courier at any point. It used to be that when an asshole player decided to he started killing your team's courier, so no items could have been carried from the base to the rest of your players. Full-on sabotage, in other words. Yeah, and it only took Valve like 7 years to figure this out, and from patch 7.23b, they changed the mechanics so all the players now have their own personal courier. Another way a Russian can ruin your experience is when they leave or refuse to play properly. Because unlike League of Legends, there is no forfeit button in Dota 2. You cannot safely quit the game when you feel like it, and to add even more insult to injury, if you try to leave the game and it's not safe to leave, Dota will strike you with an abandon and you will suffer a minor penalty for it. And if, for whatever reason, you shall be found guilty for a second abandon during the same week, you will be forcefully moved to a low-priority matchmaking. Basically, your sentence is like this.
This is the second time, sir, you have been brought before this bench. Though it is my earnest wish ever to temper justice with mercy, your persistent dedication to a life of crime is an abomination before God and man. I therefore sentence you to hang by the neck until you're dead, and may the Lord have mercy on your soul. Court is adjourned.
And in that low-priority matchmaking, you will have to play alongside and against, you guessed it,
Сука, 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 блядь, сука, 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 блядь.
Now that brings me to my other complaint, the matchmaking. And I don't know how it is in America, but here in this part of Europe, it's just awful. Now, I'm not a stats nerd, I didn't try to figure out the code in the Matrix, man, or how it works because I'm no hacker, man, and I don't want to be one either. I purely want to express how I see the entire thing, completely oblivious to the in-depth inner workings of it all. First of all, I do not know how this matchmaking only pits me either with really skilled teammates or really shitty ones like 80% of the time. I'm not saying that there aren't any balanced matches, but those are few and far between, at least in my experience. And I don't want to toot my own horn here.
That's what she said.
But a lot of times I feel like if I don't pick a carry and try to stay on top of things,
That's what she said.
we're gonna lose. Because I swear to God, it feels like no one else is focused on what they should be.
All right, Clyde, hit him with your crossbow. Hit him now, Clyde. Clyde? Clyde! Clyde! Clyde, you asshole! God damn it, we lost Clyde!
And as I've said in the beginning, I do not consider myself to be anything more than a decent player sometimes, but if I feel like this most of the time, then something has to be wrong in how the game manages to match me with other players.
That's what she said.
Moving on, the matchmaking rating system is so confusing now and awful in my opinion that a lot of us don't understand what the hell is going on, or at least with me that's the case. There are no clear rules in what pertains to gaining a star or losing one, and at one point I had like 7 consecutive wins and I barely got a new star. Could have been 2, but no more than that. I tried to find some info about it online, but there are mostly guesstimations depending on what other players experienced. For better or for worse, there used to be a simple MMR system that wasn't amazing, but hey, at least it made more sense to me. And for some reason, someone at Valve thought it would be a great idea to complicate things for idiots like me. Thus, I imagine that behind the curtain of this confusing matchmaking system, there's just this one guy in charge of everything, possibly Russian, enjoying the chaos and the wave of raging players exactly like this.
I learned English yesterday. All English.
Another thing I hate about this game is the fact that it isn't as optimized as it should be. It's CPU intensive, and people with a great video card but a slow processor suffer from this, as I used to do. I had a laptop with a Ryzen 7 3750H and an RTX 2060, and the game dropped as low as 45 frames per second in Full HD. Now all of these technical headaches for a game that's been out since 2013. Apparently, that's just how much thought and care Valve puts into this game. Now combine all of these together, and that's why I think Dota 2 is terrible at some things, like the ones I just ranted about. Now, if I'm having such a bad time with the game, then why does the addiction center of my brain tell me it wants to play this game more than others? I can't break down every single element and explain why I like the game in minute detail, but I shall try to do so in some capacity. Graphically, it's appealing to me because I truly enjoy this style of non-photorealistic graphics with an emphasis on tessellation with rounded corners. In my opinion, this art style has a soft and friendly vibe to it with colors popping out, overall giving me the impression that I truly am in an epic adventure fantasy. Honestly, it reminds me of the Tolkien universe, and The Lord of the Rings are my favorite movies of all time. So visually, yeah, I can say that I feel right at home in Dota 2. Okay, so graphics aside, the meat on the bones are the gameplay mechanics, which I find satisfying as hell. The combat is obviously my favorite part, especially with those sweet character model animations, and together with great sound effects, make the overall experience of killing creeps and heroes more than satisfying, bordering on the equivalent of a crack addiction. It could be the crunchiness of Axe-less hitting someone, or Lion's ulti in full effect with the sound of earning coin, or even destroying a tower with Wind Ranger. Now, you can imagine that all of these are amazingly satisfying for a Dota player, but when you go on a killing spree and finish off the entire enemy team by yourself, few things in gaming can top a rampage from this game. Dota 2 has 119 heroes at the moment of writing this, and they aren't all awesome and great, but like every other MOBA player on the planet, I have my favorites and my least favorites. And if you're a MOBA fan, you well know that when you play with your heroes and start leveling them up, unlocking their abilities by gaining XP, knowing when to play safe and when to be aggressive, pressing tab and seeing those kills rack up, being proud of that kill-death ratio, buying items and feeling your hero becoming more and more powerful with each level and item is, as I've said, addictive to the nth degree. And I don't think you disagree with me when I say that that applies to whatever MOBA or RPG you're into. The formula of leveling up is rock solid in these situations, but it's even more in full effect in Dota or LoL than it is in Diablo 3, for example. And this is because of one element that normal single-player games lack: the gambling element. In MOBAs, an entire online match is composed of 10 players or 2 teams, and you're dependent on the other 4 players on your team. And that makes every match as intense as the last one because you always stand to gain or lose from that. The most interesting thing that I managed to conclude is that, like with all betting, it's the fear of losing that gives you that sense of urgency and not the thrill of winning itself. We all know that no matter how hard you can carry your squad, it's not enough if your team is utterly trash. It gives us a feeling of insecurity, and it is this vulnerability that makes us stay on the edge of our seats. In Dota 2, you can't afford to make a lot of mistakes, you cannot be idle or go on a quick break, for example. You are invested 100%, and during that time, you're hoping to God that your team is doing the same thing. Otherwise, the time and stress you invest are for nothing. The interesting thing to me is that Dota 2 and LoL don't gamble in currency or items, they gamble in time. Yours and my time, which is more and more valuable as we age. Especially when you have a job and after a shitty day at work, you just want to unwind with a couple of online matches, and then some douchebag ruins your experience because he was playing ranked when he didn't even know how to play his hero. Another example would be when you lose because your team can't grasp the concept that it is a 5v5 game and doesn't stick together like the other team does, and so you get obliterated and curse the game for its shitty matchmaking. So I'm trying to make a case that Dota 2 is a game of chance that on one hand, it gives me this feeling of immense satisfaction when my team wins, but on the other hand, it can make me feel like I've wasted 40, 50, 60, sometimes even over 90 minutes, which is a hell of a lot of time when you can't spare a lot of it. Cause who the hell plays just one match anyway? Another thing I like about the game, except for the fact that it's a true free-to-play, is that the developers always bring new visual elements. I'm talking about the season passes that always have new cosmetics and improve on the overall feel of the game. Some even bring new ways to play, but I'm just too rigid to try them out, and I like to spend my time in Dota 2 by trying to climb the ranking ladder. Well, in my case, it's a climb down the ladder, but hey, it is what it is. I still love this piece of game to death. It's just my go-to game to unwind. Okay, unwind might not be the most accurate word when playing this game, but you know what I mean. It's in my top 3 favorite escapism trips, and for better or for worse, I think that I will be playing Dota for as long as I physically can.
Сука, 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 блядь, сука, 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 блядь, сука, 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 блядь, сука, 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 блядь.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching. I'm gonna try to keep this as short as I can. If you liked our video, it would help us a lot if you press the like button, hit the subscribe bell icon, leave a commentary, whatever. And if you truly appreciate what we do, you can always subscribe on Patreon to whatever tier you want, just like Digital Sam did, Razvan Kozma, Kozmin Chuka, Kristina Bradea, Radu Ionuț, Zigzag Zevo, Modal Storm 1195, Equinoe, and Mihai Clinceanu. What else can I say? Thanks a lot for your support, guys, and see you in the next one. Stay safe.